all for coming during the basketball game and all sorts of other interruptions. And how lovely to get away from politics a moment. And get to the real work, which is diving in. I'm a fan of Gary Dobbs. Thank you so much for that beautiful reading. And I was saying that I'm looking around the room, and when I was 17 years old, Keith Deniston and Concy and Eve, I never met Ethan at that time, but they took me in and introduced me to this wonderful world of conversation, bars, and writing workshops. And I'm just so grateful, as I'm honored to be in the room with you, and thank you for all you've done to help just a little waif of a kid years ago. It's meant so much to me. And, you know, I look around, I think of Phil Miller, I think of all the folks who've been in this room, I think of Gib Shell, who's been playing, and I really appreciate that. Riverfront folks who are keeping the fires burning.
You're still working.
I am too close or too far from something. If I were a true rock star, I would have this figured out. But I'm a mere amateur. But I also want to recognize the current poet laureate of Missouri, Bill, who helped me. Listening to his King Kong stories helped me release my inner jackalope. And what it means that his inner soul is a, big gorilla and mine is a little rabbit with horns, I don't know. Let's not get Freudian. And I also appreciate Fred Whitehead, who I've known since I was maybe 18. Back in the University of Kansas days, and everybody. It's lovely to see you. Thank you, Rhiannon, and thank you, Sylvia, and everyone else, Dave, everyone else here, Sharon. I thought I'd start, before I do this long harangue of American Indian trickster persuasion, I thought I'd start with an homage to my Irish roots. St. Patrick's is coming, and I'm popping peas. Let me work on this. I'll do better. Okay, St. Patrick's again. I was in Fayetteville, and I was just at a bookstore, and I turned around, and one of the poets that I'd listened to a lot and learned from was Michael Heffernan. And I turned around, it was St. Patrick's Day, and he was reading. And so I quote from him, and he is the poet in this. So St. Patrick's again. Live jazz at El Fresco is one guy, electric plinks until he turns off the switch, closes his eyes and warbles a boy's tenor, wood flute tones, pure seance hymns from before Christians. Rowdies at the bar stop fighting and stare as seawater washes through the room, sweeping through floorboards to serpent dens. The chorus stirs spirits from family lore. Desmond, Big Miller, James McGehee, all rise from steerage and sing with the lords. Next performance is a poet reciting the luck of the Irish, blue eyes snapping. Once I journeyed to the cliffs of Moher. I follow him to a rocky precipice, pause, then jump to dizzy foam tides below, fall, keep falling into this slow, heartbreaking solo. Some of us enjoyed the prison reading of Arlen Byert's group from Lansing a few weeks ago. The community just means so much. It's good to see folks from Prosperos and that group that is doing so much good work. High Plains Radio is doing a special this week, and online, HPR, High Plains Radio, is a whole sequence of everything from history to biography to poetry, about the High Plains and Comancheria. And they asked me to record a few things, and this is one of the poems. Another Custer story. And it is based on, Custer had a Cheyenne woman that he had a child with. No one knows exactly the exact terms of that interaction. But I've met that descendant or seen him speak. And so that it's pretty common among Native people to speak of those descendants. So this is part of the background to this poem. Another Custer story, Cemetery. Past the pronged iron gate, a dark figure lifts his hat, flicks ashes on the gravestones, inhales, says, "I am Etienne, call me Stevens, Nevin Custer's grandson. I am 100 years old, I remember everything." His furrowed map face turns, blue eyes are buried embers, jack oaks creak overhead. He exhales smoke, says, "We come from Ohio like you. Grandmother was Shawnee from Lopez's old town. Custer himself was part Indian." He looks in my eyes, says, "Boston and Tom died that day and Bloody Knife the Arikara. Their spirits live here, never am I alone. Cheyenne cousins visit. In dreams they are brave, they are restless. I see them in river currents, in lightning. Your family plots are next to mine. Blood remembers everything. You will forget nothing." He crushes his cigarette underfoot, unlatches the gate, walks north. Where he steps, red cedars spring back into place. And I'd like to shift to the Jackalope book. This is a poem in it, and it kind of introduces the idea of how things change so radically. When I first started writing the Jackalope book, the stories in it, when we drove in western Kansas, there were all these jackalope postcards, and I thought, well, I'll pick some up next time. They're gone now. They don't put them out anymore. They've quit putting out postcards because everybody has digital cameras, and all the gas stations have been bought out by chains, and they'll have just they'll just be a little dozen local Kansas with sunflowers or something. So that is the impetus for this disappearing act. Jackalope postcards vanish when winters, daguerreotypes fade of lighter amber, rotating racks display rows of empty. Silent moving women with mourning dove eyes are specters, so like us but not. At a door, mustachioed men lift top hats, their eyebrows wave exaggerated goodbyes. My grandfather grasps his fedora on the piano bench. He rehats himself with one hand while the other turns the brass doorknob, twist and away. Which fractal on the clock was the last time he left? Moths eat edge of crank-reeled screens, seared lacuna blemish onrushing pains. The rabbit in a glossy photograph loses antelope horns and falls back into a 10-gallon hat. The cowboy at Truck Plaza picks up the Stetson and puts it on. He turns sideways into the setting sun. Bells over the exit jangle. Adios. And to move into Jackalope walks into a truck stop. Jack looks at his reflection in the convex mirror over the door of the High Plains Gas and Go. His antlers distort into a maze of contorted twists, crazy looking. Sometimes he doesn't believe he's real either. The electric door beeper keeps beeping, so he moves into the crowded store. He can barely make it through the aisles crammed with windshield blades, aspirin maps. He continues past the coolers until he finds the unisex bathroom. On the way out, he stops and pulls 3 liters of bottled water out of the refrigerator case. In the shimmering glass reflections, oddly, he sees a floating American Indian woman caught in a net. He turns. Behind him is a shelf of kitsch for sale. Pocahontas is snared inside a macrame dream catcher. Beside her, a ceramic Lakota man paddles a canoe. A bronze Apache man wrestles an alligator. Jack sighs, what bad mismatches of tribes and geographies. Then he sees a wire rack of postcards. In front is a greetings from Kansas card with a large jackalope profiled against sunflowers. He rotates the display slowly. Great warrior jackalope catches his eye. Another card is a scientific illustration with a description. Western jackalope, the first white man to see the singular fauna specimen is trapper George McLean in 1829. Jack has heard that old urban legend many times. The card continues on the back. They only sing on dark nights before a storm. That part is right as far as it goes. The family-friendly postcard company censored the X-rated details about lightning's erotic effects. Jack selects 128 cards for his nieces and nephews and heads to the counter. Kind of windy out there, he says to the woman at the register. Pictures of identical blonde kids, different sizes, are visible next to her crossword puzzle. Yeah, kind of from the Southwest today, she says without looking up. But then she notices his paw on the Alexander Hamilton bills. Her water blue eyes snap awake. Hey, are you one of those jackalopes I hear about? Yes, I am, Jack says and straightens up a bit. I thought so. Say, I hear you guys are hermaphrodites. Is that true? Jack feels his ears burn, but answers, that could be. Intergender is the preferred term. Just in case, thought you ought to know we've got more cards in our adult room at the back. She stops as a man and 2 teenagers clang through the door. She lowers her voice. You might check them out back and to the left. I can join you soon. Thanks, Jack bubbles as he pockets the change. He starts to hop away, but curiosity gets the best of him. Uncle Chubby's birthday is coming up, and the old fella is so hard to shop for. Sex-themed gifts are always welcome. As Jack goes back down the aisle, he sees the reflection of the clerk in the glass door. She leers at him openly. Oh well, he'll be delayed at this pit stop longer than he planned. Jack walks into a casino bar. Jack waits in the van for his rabbit cousins to arrive. He does not want to face the Western Coyote security gauntlet alone, and besides, Hopalong has extra slot machine cards. Bright lights of the marquee flash Powerball night. All the booze is half price, and the casino is a madhouse. Jack watches attractive females pass by and a few Mongol-looking coyotes. He sniffs the air. It has a perfume hint of rain, but no immediate threat of storm. Twilight deepens and he checks the phone. No messages. Sudden thud-thuds on the van roof startle him. At the same time, Hop's face appears in the window. Jack rolls it down. Hope you don't mind, I brought the kids. 2 grinning jackrabbit faces appear upside down on the windshield. Surprise! They both yell. Thelma said to get them out of the house at any cost. Jack forces a smile. Great to see everybody. He opens the door, lowers his antlers, and gets out of the car. Sheet lightning flickers sudden and unexpected in the far western sky. Whoops, lightning, I need to hurry. Protruding horns can act like lightning rods, among other problems. I understand, cuz, says Hop. We'll get you indoors fast, no problem. Okay, Hop, thanks. They walk up the main promenade, feeling prickles of camera eyes watching their every move. Oops, that's Sydney Coyote up there guarding the door. No problem, Hop says. You stand behind me. They almost walk through the door before Sydney separates from the pack and strolls over. He lolls his tongue casually, but his yellow eyes smolder. Evening, boys. Let's see those ID cards. Hopalong collects all the identity documents and hands them over. Jack looks down. Oh, and I see we have a jackalope here. We don't want any trouble. Sydney licks his drool. Is it true you lopes are hermaphrodites? He chuckles, and the nearby pack picks up the howl. Jack looks away, glad his trousers conceal his privates. Sydney continues, I hear thunder and lightning turns you lopes into sex maniacs. You'll breed with anything. No, that's just an urban myth, Jack mumbles. Well, see that you behave or we get you for lunch. Sydney's joviality vanishes and he looks deadly serious. Jack grabs his ID and they all move briskly through the doors. I need a drink, says Jack. You bunnies go on. Will you be all right? Asked one of the boys, snuffy or puffy. Jack can never tell them apart. I thought the doctor told you to quit drinking, Uncle. It's not a problem. He looks around the casino ceiling for the bar sign right in the center and heads that way. Now, Jack, you take it easy, says Hop. He turns away before Jack can respond. Under a flickering cactus sign, Jack takes a seat. Sydney Coyote's niece, Brenda, is shaking a martini, but she spots him right away. When she comes over, she laughs and says, a jackalope comes in a bar and orders. Jack says, oh, I've heard that one before. But she continues, broil my medium rare and stew my legs. She howls with laughter. A gigolo walks into a bar and asks, who or what is my date tonight? He snorts along with her. He can't help himself. She continues. A jackalope comes into the bar and orders slow gin, throws out the gin and eats the juniper twig. Oh, come on, Brenda. Just give me the usual wheatgrass smoothie. I quit the hard stuff after that last problem. A jackalope comes in a bar. She stops, swishes her tail, and turns to the blender, but he can hear her chortle. He groans. A few weeks ago, when a cloudburst broke too fast, he went into a mindless rut frenzy under the counter. The image of Brenda's face swirls with others. Mostly the episode was a blackout. He has to be more careful about weather reports. She brings the brimming drink. So, how are you doing, Jack? Really? The same, staying with my grandmother and working from home for the call center. No one cares who's on the end of the line as long as they speak English. He lowers his head so smooth horns are within Brenda's reach. He knows females love sad stories and they love to touch his exotic horns. Ooh, Brenda says, may I? Sure. She loses herself in the moment, nuzzles the beauties, and finally licks their smooth texture. At the sight of her tongue, Jack feels liquid fire burn all the way to his feet. He had better get out of the casino before the storm hits. Brenda puts her professional face back on, and Jack tries to as well. Nice. By the way, I wouldn't trust Sydney. He said something about a Hunger Games charade tonight. She grins, and for a moment, Jack is not sure he can trust her either. She goes to another customer, a big wolf with raised hackles. Jack watches her luxurious tail as she placates the angry customer. He sighs, finishes his drink. The casino is windowless, so no telling how close the storm is. Still, the security force is a real threat. They all have to leave. Jack slips into the men's bathroom and is glad to find it empty. He springs up beyond the range of the surveillance camera and unlatches the window. He scoots the trash can under it, a good toehold for the kids. Then he pees, washes, and returns to the bar stool. "Hit me again," he says, "and this time add the gin." Brenda grins widely, not bothering to mask her worst instincts. He texts Hopalong to get the boys out to safety, takes a swallow, and waits. Soon he sees Sydney stroll by with a pack in patrol formation. He does not see the silent signal when they shift to the snare pattern. He freezes, suddenly tired, and looks for the best escape route. Predator, prey, nothing ever changes in this place. Jackalope walks into a Twitter bar. Jack gropes in the satchel for his phone charger. He has a primo seat on a riser where he can see everything. Plus an electrical outlet is handy. What a great idea. A bar called Twitter Time, merging social media and FaceTime. Best of all, the place is huge, 15 screens of trending Twitter. Around him flash giant images. One conversation circle reads, "Oscar's red carpet. Fashionistas sit here all holding pink martini glasses." On the Dungeons and Dragons screen, a giant fanged frog charges black-taloned lizard folk. The D&D groupies sit in flickering light, not flinching at the slaughter. Nice variety. The new bar splashed pop-up ads all over Twitter for weeks, and Jack has wanted to see if the hype is warranted. Yes, everyone has a group, and loners like himself can find space. Here he can be totally anonymous. After his gin and tonic arrives, Jack stirs it slowly and reads the screen across from him, "Dis in 4 words." A red-eyed jackal flashes by with the legend, "Carrion, yum, yum, yum." A grinning zombie pop-up follows, "I prefer dead sex." The live stream continues with a chihuahua holding a sign in its mouth, "Your baby is ugly." Across the room, Jack glimpses images of soft porn. A new couple engages in poses strategically edited. Slow-mo camera work displays a man's toned torso, ocean spray, and a woman's backside. Then he sees a crowd of youngsters performing uncensored charades of mating motions. They wear matching t-shirts, 4T Titty Twitter Time T. He turns away, takes a long sip of his one allotted drink, a medicinal juniper berry infusion better known as gin. What a day. He cold called clients in Albany for his telemarketer company almost 10 hours straight. He is ready to shift gears. "Excuse me, mister," says the bartender, a young jackalope with a red bandana around his neck. "Yes." "Are you Jack, sometimes called J-A-Q, Jack?" "Why, yes." "Could you sign this napkin for me? Your Twitter time screen is one of the most popular. You're a legend." The youngster hands him a felt tip pen to autograph the square tissue. Delighted, but Jack starts to sign, but stops when he sees a familiar flicker in the bar mirror, his own bare ass. Oh my! He finishes the scroll quickly and turns to a side wall where enormous pictures of himself, barely clothed, conform with last year's friend with benefits. Several photos flash by with the text, "Jack and Jill walk up the hill and take a tumble." His eyes look maniacal on the large scale. It is really him. The scar over his upper lip is unmistakable. He has to contact Jill immediately, but before he can find Jill's number, his full frontal image flashes. His enormous mouth distorts as he lip syncs a song. Oh no, he is pantomiming. "I'm too sexy for my..." Jack winces. The catwalk part is coming up about shaking his tush. He cannot take his eyes off the train wreck as his trousers sink lower. Was it Jill who took that one? Or Gladys? The other bartender comes over. "Hey, you're Jack. Great stuff on Twitter. Can I take your picture?" Jack stifles a groan and tries to strike a dignified pose. After all, photographs last forever on the internet. Had he really tweeted enough private moments to create a continuous video loop? Then he hears his voice singing, "Home, home on the range." This episode shows him buck naked in the shower when he washes his genitals. Some of the bar crowd applauds. How did that get online? The screen changes to watch a low poop. And there he is, sitting on a toilet with a crossword puzzle. At the end of the scene, including the messy wipe, is a credit edited by WALP. Jack shakes his head. "Hey, it's Jack," the bartender calls over a couple more friends. Soon the crowd grows in geometrical progressions as fast as rabbits can multiply. He signs a few more napkins, keeping up with questions. Yes, he dates regularly. No, he will not share his black book. He pauses and slams the rest of his drink. He grabs his phone and unplugs it. "Don't go, Jack. Sign this," says a young man in a Playboy t-shirt with the signature rabbit ears. The bartender brings him another drink. "On the house. Not every day we get a Twitter celebrity like you." Jack gulps this drink without hesitation, but he knows this has got to stop or he will be the joke spot of the evening news. He has to think of something fast. "Hey, fellas, how about a selfie?" He finds his phone's camera application. The porn followers clump behind him and flash rabbit ear fingers. Jack quickly snaps a shot just before some of them drop their pants. "Got it. I'll post it right now." He looks at the share options, and at that moment he sees the glowing red dot on the thin edge of his phone. The video recorder is on. It has been on shooting live shots for months, like an Eagle family video cam. Plain Jack, who lives quietly in his grandmother's basement, is a media joke. The loudspeakers crackle, then blare, "I'm too sexy." The crowd starts to clap along. Others call out a chorus of "Jack, Jack, Jack." This is going south fast. "Hey, gotta go pee," he shouts to the bartender. "Leave my tab open." He turns to the crowd. "You guys wait here, I'll be right back." He winks. "Hold that thought." "Hey, we'll come with you," shouts one. "Oh, no need, I'm always recording." He unobtrusively grabs his man bag and hops toward the restroom, then zigzags abruptly to the exit and out. Sometimes Jack is quiet and reflective. He has the trickster issues of various sorts, but also, like any good trickster, there are moments when the different worlds intersect with each other. And this one and I'll end with this one. Jackalope walks into a peyote meeting. When Auntie dies, relatives ask the Native American church to conduct services. They arrive Thursday and set up the teepee in the front yard. Women organize a makeshift kitchen under eaves of the house. Soon, a warm fire burns, and the aroma of coffee mixes with the pine forest. Jack helps as much as she can. But she barely knows this side of the family. The drive from Wyoming exhausted her. She stays in her car at the Wolf River's edge most of the evening and listens to the drumming and singing from a distance. She stares at the stars until she dozes. In the night, she awakens and goes by the fire to pray. She watches embers until wind blows a spray of sparks into the air. They keep rising until they arrange themselves in the sky as a constellation. Rabbit. This is a good sign. On the second night, she joins others around the fire. They tell stories in Menominee and in English about Auntie, how kind and generous she was. Later, after children have fallen asleep, fire crackles loudly as a song swells. Auntie's voice can be heard among the others, blending with the water drum. On the third night, Jack falls asleep at the fire with the smell of wood smoke in her nose. When she dreams, a lavender scent envelops her. Tears come to Jack's eyes as she remembers her auntie's favorite perfume. Wind quickens on the last day. More relatives arrive from nearby cities, and voices swirl loudly. Some of the newcomers have brought fresh-cut cedar boughs to cover the bare ground. As she listens to stories about Auntie, the taste of cedar suddenly fills Jack's mouth. After final prayers, as the eastern sky lightens, the meeting is over. The days have gone by quickly. Firewood is almost gone. In the kitchen area, Jack chops lettuce, fetches water, washes berries. The final meal must have sweet, salt, meat, and water. After singers and drummers have been served, Jack helps herself to blueberry pie, her auntie's favorite, and corn chips. She pours a large glass of sumac tea, and she puts a bite of sturgeon on her plate. With a full belly, she goes to her car and falls asleep. At twilight, Jack awakens and hops to a slight rise overlooking the ceremonial grounds. She travels a bit farther along the high ground so she can see the moonrise. The fire pit is far away, but she can feel its warmth even after sunset when cold seeps from the north. She shivers and remembers how her auntie loved winter snow. When she happens to notice her arms, she startles. She cannot see them or any part of her body, even in light of the full moon. As she looks up, the forest around her is alive with movement. Images of the old-time people move along the trails. Some walk toward Jack, but they step aside and keep going. Suddenly, a car door slams in the distance. The figures disappear. Jack's hands reappear in the moonlight, and then the rest of her body. The sky seems brighter than ever. Above, she sees every single needle of the pine tree. As she watches, the moon swells larger until it fills half the sky. The profile of a rabbit walks across the luminous white disk, stands, and turns to her. Then white light fills her eyes. Indeed, peyote is a strong medicine. Jack gathers dry grass for warmth and beds down. Later, she will collect some of the cedar to take home, but for now, she enjoys smelling the cold wind. In the silence between the heavens and the forest depths, Auntie has found her new place.
Very charming, very magical tales. Is this on? Oh, here it is. Okay. Thank you. I wanted to let you guys know about the next Riverfront reading, which